Avengers 5, Avengers 5, Avengers 5. This week on Cosmic Rewind, we have a lot of details to run you through as insiders have been going crazy with updates for Avengers 5. We also have the Loki's Return update, as well as the trailer for Venom, The Last Dance, which released. We're diving into all of that in today's video. The purpose of Cosmic Rewind is to give you an update for everything that you missed throughout the week. So this will be a fast flash update of all of the news. For more detailed information, be sure to subscribe and check out the full-length videos from your host, Warren Thompson. But for quickness and for the purpose of today's recap from the news this week, we're going to jump right in with Avengers 5. Now, a large group of insiders have all come out with different updates, all of which kind of paint a really cool story for what the future of the Avengers film, which previously was titled Kang Dynasty and now is being referred to as Avengers 5, will be. For starters, we are hearing that Avengers 5 is going to have over 60 characters. In fact, from one well-known insider, we even heard over 65 characters. Now, these characters will be made up of the new Avengers, of other teams, maybe Midnight Suns, the street level MCU, the Galaxy MCU, and of course, variants. Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man might return as a variant. In fact, it's very heavily speculated and even expected at this point for that to happen. And then other characters from different parts of the multiverse, like the different Spider-Man, different Doctor Strange characters, different Loki variants. All of these characters are now expected to make an appearance in Avengers 5. Now, for clarification, that's not Secret Wars, which is expected to be even bigger. This is the what is being referred to as more grounded Marvel film, the more grounded Avengers film, which is expected to have over 60 to 65 characters show up for this creation and this story of what will eventually lead to Secret Wars. Another very important detail about Avengers 5 that we've been hearing is that Kang will still remain the main villain, even though the title isn't currently officially Kang Dynasty anymore. We're expecting and hoping to get an update on the title come San Diego Comic-Con very, very soon, but right now it's Avengers 5. But Kang will still heavily be involved as they are replanning after the Jonathan Majors conviction and removing him from that role. Previously, they had set him up as every variant of Kang, but considering that we're in the multiverse saga, it won't be the end of the world to try to pivot from that and recast the character and have different variants played by different actors. But as far as the news is concerned, Kang will remain in the storyline as the big bad. However, we are hearing with certainty from multiple different insiders that we should be expecting two villains in Avengers 5. Now, the short list that we have here for who these villains could be simply is Doctor Doom, the Beyonder, and potentially Eternity, but we'll talk about Eternity in just a moment. Carrying on with the Avengers 5 rumors, we're hearing that Loki and Sylvie, and the TVA behind them, will have an important role in the upcoming Avengers movies. Plural. That's what the insider said regarding Loki and Sylvie and their appearances, which is pretty reassuring since it seems like, and most fans would agree, Loki's kind of stuck. At the end of Loki Season 2, we saw Loki grab all the different threads of the multiverse, and he is harnessing them and holding them into place. And just by basic logic, you would assume that that means he's kind of stuck in that position. However, the expectation, following many rumors, is that the multiverse is going to fall apart and collapse anyway, which might free Loki up to travel, explore, and share his knowledge of the multiverse, which, without question, he's pretty much the front runner for the heroes as to multiverse experience. Now, Doctor Strange has traveled a little bit in the multiverse. Ant-Man understands time travel, which is basically multiverse travel. But Loki literally is the multiverse right now. So besides maybe Kang, nobody knows traveling the multiverse as well as Loki does. As well as that information, the TVA will be involved heavily as well, which makes perfect sense since at the end of Loki Season 2, we also learned their new job and prerogative is to hunt down Kang variants threatening the timeline. Well, it sounds like Kang is still going to be the big bad of the MCU, so the TVA is going to be pretty important here in hunting down and using the technology that they have available to them to helping out the Avengers and the other 60 plus characters who will be showing up in Avengers 5, and then however many plus more we get in Secret Wars. So that'll just about cover all of the updates we got for Avengers 5 from the week. There were a ton of them, and if you'd like to unpack more of that information, be sure to dive into some of the more in-depth videos from Warren Thompson from earlier in the week. I want to transition now into Secret Wars, because we've also heard and have been hearing for a handful of months now that we might need to expect Secret Wars to be a part 1 and a part 2. Now, I'm certainly not complaining about this, but the more time, the more screen time, the more action and adventure and story that they plan on telling for Secret Wars, the better the movie is going to be. So I am full, let's move forward on a part 1 and a part 2. No, nobody likes big cliffhangers and let's wait a year or a year and a half before the next part comes out. But I think that will build the emotion and the suspense and overall create a better film. Now, what we're hearing might happen for the second part of Secret Wars, and this was also a rumor that came out this week, is that it might be Eternity Wars. Now, the reason for this is because a long time ago, Disney went ahead and got the copyright patent for a ton of different titles. Avengers Infinity War was one of those. And since then, all of those different titles that they had the copyrights to have passed. The only one that they have kept up was Avengers Eternity War. Now, I said we were going to talk about Eternity, and we're going to. But keep in mind, Cosmic Rewind is brief, and if you want a very awesome, in-depth breakdown of the comic book explanation of what Eternity War could look like, definitely go check out this breakdown by Warren Thompson up in the top right corner. However, it sounds like basically the idea behind what would happen if the speculation is true, eternity represents the universe, and every eternity for every multiverse does create a singular unit. Now, if that eternity were to be destroyed, that could set up the beginning of the reboot, the reorganization of the MCU, which we've also heard pretty heavily speculated could be where we're headed, to allow for Iron Man, Captain America, Thor characters to be recast as variants and to continue on in the future of the MCU with the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and different groups that will be showing up there. Because it's very cool that they have returned to the MCU. However, Iron Man and Captain America and the core Avengers that we know, their story's over. The only way to get them to collaborate is to have a variant or to have a soft reboot to the MCU happen, which will allow for these characters to be recast from different parts of the multiverse, and that would create a really cool collaboration moving forward. So we are hearing more rumors of the Eternity War storyline, potentially rounding out the end of Secret Wars, leading to the reboot. The last big bit of news comes from the Sonyverse, who released a Venom trailer for Venom 3: The Last Dance. It was a pretty decent trailer. I think overall, your guys' excitement was high. It looked like the movie might actually be a-okay. Now, Sony, obviously, as of recently, hasn't done the best job in filling its seats, getting people excited for their movies, or bringing to the table all that which they promised. But this movie seems like, much like the first two Venom films, it might do a decent job. That isn't without, however, a few qualms and a few questions, because it does seem like, as far as storyline, timeline, and canon history of the Sonyverse, or even the MCU in this case, Sony's pulling a Sony and completely ignoring it. We saw that with the Venom symbiote now being captured by a character who isn't in the 616 universe, whereas before it was implied that this exact scene from the trailer was in the MCU. We saw in the post-credit scene for Venom: Let There Be Carnage, Tom Holland, and Venom. Then we saw at the end of No Way Home in the post-credit scene, Venom in the bar in Mexico, and then returned to his universe, the Sonyverse. And he left this little piece of symbiote, which is now here being collected by somebody from the Sonyverse. Very confusing, but that's not enough. Here is a scene of a supposed young Peter Parker, who many are speculating either A, will be a new Peter Parker in the future so Sony can continue making movies and continue keeping Spider-Man, because, Spider-Man makes money and Sony wants that money. I know a lot of us want the MCU to regain control of Spider-Man, but Sony isn't going to let that happen without a fight. So yeah, it's very possible they're planting a seed for a new Spider-Man to take place in the Venom universe. Or many people are also speculating that this young Spider-Man, well, Peter Parker, is Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man before the Amazing Spider-Man movie. I'm not really sure how that in particular will create an opportunity in the future for Sony, but it could be a really weird way for them to create some type of unison in their universe. However, Andrew Garfield, although we are anticipating him to show up in Secret Wars in the MCU, doesn't necessarily have a future as Spider-Man beyond that. Maybe we get the Amazing Spider-Man 3, but then what? Is he going to go on and make another trilogy? I think Andrew Garfield's probably towards the point of his Spider-Man career where he will make some really cool nostalgic appearances to be involved, to make the fans happy, but I don't think he probably has the legs to continue on beyond that point. Regardless, very interesting stuff coming from the Venom 3 trailer, and I am curious to see how it all plays out, and really just to see what Sony does next, since we're always asking the question, does Sony actually have a plan? And if they do have a plan, can they convert that plan into a success story? So lots of exciting stuff. Avengers 5, Avengers Secret Wars, Venom, and Spider-Man news. I don't think many of us could ask for a better week. Let me know in the comment section down below. A, did you make it to the end of the video? If you did, I'll be sure to interact with you, leave a little trophy or something. B, what did you think of the news this week? What are you most excited for in Avengers 5, Avengers Secret Wars, and Venom 3? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for making it to the very end of the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one right here on Cosmic Rewind.